All right, guys, the common tendency that we're going to be talking about today is preparation on the serve. So I think one of the big things that happens to my wife. Actually, my wife had the jitters on her serve and kind of lost her serve. But she lost her serve because she was doing way too much. She had way too much going on with her technique, probably too much coil, too much rotation. So we more so really simplified everything. But now she really takes more time with the routine, but it's much more simple, not as much stuff going on. But I would say just general common tendencies are either people rush with the routine or maybe they don't find the right routine that can bring them back to life. I think like the general idea behind having a routine is to be able to wash out the previous point, is to be able to wash out any sort of unforced error that took place, and more so just get you in that mind state of seeing clear, being relaxed, and getting comfortable.
Yeah, I think I've definitely been guilty of this. Tyson will be the first to tell you that I get guilty of rushing my routine a few times, especially happens when you're frustrated. Let's say you just made an unforced error that you know you shouldn't have. Maybe it's the third or fourth one that you've made in the last 6 or 7 points. It's very easy to just stomp up to that line and decide, all right, next point. But that's the exact opposite of what you want to do. You want to take your time. You want to recenter your focus. You want to be thinking not just about executing a good serve, but what type of point or what type of shot you want to play on the next ball. So having a specific routine every time is kind of just a way of finding a home base out there. It can be very lonely when things aren't going your way, but when you have a routine, it's something to latch onto and help find your game.
And know that you should be selfish as a server. Why? Because it's all about you, baby. Last little thing here. General preparation, keep in mind that we should be wrapping our game around what we do well. So not only are we going to focus on a routine, but we're going to focus on where we stand on the court to use our stronger wing. So I believe both Kyle and I love our forehands. Yep. I've made my little bit of money in pickleball with using my forehand. So we're going to keep to the theme of sliding over and really opening up your stronger wing. Okay, guys, so the first drill we're gonna mow over here is more so, I guess, getting comfortable with, understanding like the goal behind having a routine, I guess making a routine and more so using a routine that makes sense to you. Something I think about is like, if there's any lifestyle routine that you use, to keep you tame or to keep you, in a position where you're not flirting with a lot of negative ideas, or if you've used a routine in other sports, I would try to implement that and bring that in your routine for your serve. But I mean, like something I think about with my routine is taking my time, being selfish, getting gathered, getting comfortable, taking a couple deep breaths. Sometimes I may even this is really not in my routine, but sometimes I'll turn my back, take a couple of deep breaths, and more so kind of turn my back against my opponent and kind of send a message to a certain degree that I'm more so gonna take control of the match, kind of with my routine or with those little reset methods. Things like that.
Do you have any phrases that you use, Tyson? I think we all, it doesn't matter if you're brand new or playing at a pro level, we all have stretches where we just kind of lose our game or make a few more unforced errors in a pattern there. So if you're not playing your best, do you have any phrases that you use in your inner monologue to kind of refocus you?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's everybody puts their underwear on the same way, right?
It's true, yeah.
I mean...
Just right to the underwear. I like it.
Sorry. But I mean, how often are you playing somebody and you feel like, oh my gosh, like, this person isn't, this person is playing outside of their comfort zone and they're playing at a level that I've never seen them play at. And so, I guess if you panic or if you get antsy, then you start thinking, oh my gosh, they're probably gonna play at this level. But if you understand that everybody puts their underwear on the same way and everybody makes unforced errors, if you ride the waves and dig your feet in and just stay the course, you will find out that they will come back to life. But it's funny how sometimes people play outside their comfort zone and it feels like they're not quite human. But if you play the course, stay with them, you will soon find out that they put their undies on the same way you do. Another thing is focus on what you can't control, right? I think, so many people get focused on things that are outside of their control. Maybe it's their girlfriend, maybe it's their dog. More so, it's just, it's their opponents and what they're doing or certain patterns that they're losing. But I think, when you are doing your routine, focus on things you can't control and understand that everybody puts their underwear on the same way.
Well, Tyson, let's take them through your routine.
Sure.
Let's give an example here. All right, so you just missed a volley that you never miss. You're coming back to the line.
Yeah.
It's all about you. Let's see it.
So yeah, I would say like specifically when I miss or when I have an unforced error, and I would say that it's not very calculated, or let's just simply say that I make a bad unforced error. I even take more time.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Any time that I'm in trouble, I'm not playing well, and I'm flustered, know that you have or you should be selfish as a server. So anytime that, yeah, let's say I've missed the world's easiest volley, I come stomping back to the baseline. I'm gonna turn my back, take a couple deep breaths. Sometimes I'll do this, more so to get my blood pumping and get all that negativity out of my head, and then I will get myself established. I will bounce the ball twice, take a couple of deep breaths. Okay, bring my hands together. Weight is on my toes here. Bounce the ball twice. I have this little lag, weights on my toes, and then I hit my serve. Okay, but just make sure that you're not rushing with your routine. Know that's a common tendency, and there's nothing wrong with going on the opposite side of the spectrum, and more so just giving yourself more time.
Yeah, no, how about the flip side? Let's say you're playing great, right?
Okay,
and you're in a really good rhythm.
Very good.
How do you adjust your routine then?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for the plug. So I will be, any time that I'm playing at a level that's pretty good, I always try to stay with the pace of the game.
Yeah.
So I'm more so just matching the pace of the game.
Right.
If I'm losing, more so I'm going to make it a long death. I'm going to draw this sucker out.
So still the routine either way.
Correct.
But you might keep maybe a little slightly higher tempo if you're in that groove.
And I'm gonna show a little fun thing that I gathered from Marcin Rozpecki. So I used to play Marcin Rozpecki a lot in singles. Obviously the Polish monster hurt his knee. He's not playing as much right now. But something he used to do against me in singles that used to piss me off is he was obviously 10, 15 years older, 6'5", so big body. Anyhow. Anytime that he was sucking pond water, anytime that he felt like he was just physically getting worked, when I gave him the ball and he was serving, he would drop it, he would kick it, he'd walk over to it, he'd kick it again. But more so, he's sending a message that says, hey, things are going to be on my terms, buddy. I'm not saying that you have to stall, but just that added idea of giving yourself more time, sending a message that things are going to be on your terms, I think goes a long ways.
Well, how often, when you think about momentum in pickleball or really any sport, how often is it just the opponent that's playing amazing just plays a little bit worse and you play just a little bit better? And that's the difference in losing 4 or 5 points in a row or winning 4 or 5 points in a row. So just understanding that if things aren't going your way, it could just be a small correction for you and maybe just a small drop in level for your opponent, and that changes everything. I
always tell my students, like if you don't do your routine or if you don't have a reset method, it's funny how 2 unforced errors could lead to about 6 or 8. So it's funny how with that theme, if you let things unfold and you don't put a stop to it by doing your routine or having a reset method, how the game can get out of your hands in a very quick manner.
Well, if you're frustrated, how often do you think people are doing the exact opposite? We talked about you're rushing,
right?
If things aren't going your way, when you need to slow down more if things aren't going your way and try to really settle in and get yourself in the right frame of mind to play a quality point the next point. But how often we're so mad about the last one, we're like, let's just get this darn thing over with.
Yeah.
And that's when we really regret letting a match slip away, is when we didn't do our best to stay mentally tough and extend out those moments to give ourselves a chance to find our game.
So let's keep those unforced errors gaps with 1 or 2 unforced errors and using the routine or using the reset method at the appropriate time. Okay guys, next area that we're gonna touch on is court position on the serve. And on the return, sorry.
Yep.
And then so just keep in mind that obviously we should always be wrapping our game around what we do well, finding our strengths, finding areas, or finding little methods to really find our strength or use our strength. But usually that comes by cheating over and using that lag and really opening up your stronger side. Just all in all, I mean, yes, I don't mind hitting drops on my backhand, or I don't mind, driving on my backhand. I don't mind slicing the backhand return, but I know what I do well, and simply I just have more options to create offense and just to put added pressure on my opponent with my forehand wing. So just for example, anytime I'm serving on the right, I'm more so serving towards the middle. And then anytime I'm on the left, I am more so, serving out wide and giving myself lots of room to work with. So I'm really baiting the returner to, go to that gap or go to my stronger side. But I think there's value behind, knowing what you do well and then knowing how to create options to find that stronger side.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to settle for the weaker side like Tyson talked about. I mean, pro-level, world-class player, he's very capable with the backhand. But at the end of the day, if he asks himself which side is he more accurate on, which side is he more dangerous on, it would no doubt be the forehand side. So there's no reason for him to stand in the middle of this box and say, well, if it's this way, I'll play a backhand, this way a forehand. By him sliding over more, anything in the middle, he knows, which is the likely return location, he knows he's going to be in a position to be able to either drop or drive with his forehand, which is the stronger wing. I think there's very few of us, if we're being honest, that are pretty even on each side. I think I asked the Newmans this, I asked Lindsay, and she might be one of the exceptions where they have such good backhands and their forehands are so solid, they don't really have to think about positioning themselves to have one side or the other because they're strong each way. But most of us have a side that we're going to be more accurate on. And Tyson, if you wouldn't mind standing there really quick. So let's say I'm visioning that I'm serving, and Tyson, you're going to be my partner here.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So if Tyson's my partner, each of us both prefer our forehands. If I'm serving out here, and he's standing there and they hit their return, be pretty challenging for them to have either of us hit a backhand here, right?
Very true.
Anything over to Tyson's left hip, I can come ahead and slide over and I can play my forehand. And if it's to his belly button or right hip or over, it's a forehand for here. So when you think about what we're giving our opponents, the only way they're going to make either of us hit a backhand is if they return it short angle here, where I'm having to run way over, and it's this tiny sliver where I'd maybe settle for a backhand. But 90% plus of the return locations we've got covered for forehand returns.
And I would say like an area that tends to, I guess, cause some chaos and cause some confusion is when the return comes to my left foot, right?
Absolutely.
So let's say like the return comes to my left foot. Well, with me cheating over, I mean, honestly, obviously, if Kyle and I can communicate, that can put Kyle in a position to slide over and take it. Or since I'm already, slid over, I mean, I can easily take a step back, give myself a little time, drop, and guard this left foot. So if you find yourself, I guess if you find you and your partner are kind of struggling with a backhand drop on your left foot, there's nothing wrong with cheating over and really finding your stronger wing just by making that adjustment.
I think just early talk too, and it's going to be situational to who the stronger player is. I would say if we're in this exact scenario and I'm playing with somebody like Tyson, who is as accurate and moves as well as he does, I'm going to go ahead and defer and let him take that ball. But if I'm maybe the stronger player on the court, maybe they'll defer to me. But either way, I think early talk would go a long way.
And I think that too, that's a little situational. It's a little based around who's hitting the third ball, better. Obviously, if Kyle's in a position where he's, hitting 80% of his third balls and he's getting them down, he feels nice and comfortable there, I will gladly get the hell out of the way. Well, if Kyle's breaking down a little bit on that third, I would then take a step back and take that third ball. Also, too, last little thing here. There's so much meaning behind getting your feet established and being organized and being comfortable right before contact. But if you don't cheat over and you're late to getting around it, then you're going to find that your preparation's late, you're off your back foot, you don't have your legs with you. So early prep, getting organized to find your stronger side goes a long ways out here.
And how many times are people mentally deciding, you know what, I'm going to play a forehand. I'm going to play the stronger side. But because their positioning is inappropriate, they play it. And now, just like Tyson's talking about, they're frantically running over to try to play a forehand, and they're off balance while they play the shot. But if they would have just started here with that same intent to play the stronger side, they'd be so much more balanced when they're executing the shot, and they can move their way forward where they want to get.
So we just touched on the serve. Now we're going to touch on the return. Same sort of scenario here. I mean, like the last thing I want to do though, obviously, is fully pull myself over and then send a message to the server that this area is widely available. So I may kind of fake it till I make it a little bit and probably add a bit more deception here. So let's say, when I'm serving, I would serve here, but when I return, I'm probably only going to take one little step over. I'm going to give myself a little time. That way I don't fully give it away. But the main focus here is that, if this serve does come to my left foot, yes, I have to run around. But as I run around, just like what Kyle talked about, we're going to focus on, finding that back foot, get our weight going forward, and then be explosive out of our first step so we're not late to getting in. I think when we can be explosive out of our first step and we can gain real estate a little quicker, not look to see how pretty a return is, or I guess get caught up in our footwork, then this makes sense. Okay, so just really focus on if you want to use your forehand, give yourself time, give yourself prepared, and make that adjustment soon enough.
And to me, I would say it's always a little bit situational on how much pace that the server has. If they don't have much pace at all and they just have a soft serve every time, that's where I will cheat over a little bit more, because I know even if they go back over there, if it's a slow shot, I have time to get over, get established, and get my weight going forward. But if I'm facing a bigger server, somebody like Tyson, even though I'd like to cheat over, I gotta be a little bit careful on how much I do, because if I've got all my movement going laterally and my weight going laterally, I'm gonna have to collect my momentum, then go forward after I play it, and I will be a step or two late getting it.
Yeah. Just think about taking out that lag time in between and being explosive out of your first step.